Hello and welcome back to the Cinema Scoop podcast with Sam and Jordan. Today we have another draft episode. The subject of today's draft will be Pixar films, and we have a special guest. I'm very excited for my beautiful sister to be here, April. April, welcome.
Hello.
April, do you want to tell the pod listeners why you're kind of like the expert on Pixar films?
I wouldn't consider myself an expert, but I'm flattered. I am going to film school and studying animation, and also I'm just a big Pixar nerd.
When we thought of Pixar movies, we thought of April just because April is super, super into animation. And I feel like even since like you were a lot younger, we would watch a lot of Pixar movies together and stuff too. And we're big Pixar fans in this household.
Yeah, me and Jordan kind of grew up with the beginning through what is now almost 30 years now since they started.
We're old. Okay.
I might be misremembering, but I believe we had Toy Story 2 on VHS. That
Yeah.
I watched a ton. I remember that one.
We found a Chinese bootleg version of the first Toy Story at a Goodwill one time. Remember that? And then we put it in, and it was like in Chinese.
Like
It was
Chinese
funny.
dub. And
Yeah.
I forgot about that.
I think there's been 27 feature films, if you even include Inside Out 2, which just came out last week. None of us have seen that one, so that's not going to be drafted today. So really it's about 26 potential picks, but we're each going to pick 5 movies, so it's going to be 15, and then we'll each have an audible mention at the end. And I think April has the first pick.
I'm going to say first is Ratatouille. That is,
Excellent.
I consider that to be the best Pixar film, just out of all of them.
Sam just wrote rat.
Yeah. Every time I try to spell Ratatouille, it's wrong, so I don't even try anymore.
Ratatouille?
And next to the A of my name, just a rat. So I feel like, I know there's like a really popular video essay about Ratatouille that's been making the rounds. It's like, this is why Ratatouille says so much about art or whatever. But like genuinely, like it's a good video essay, but genuinely, it is a really good film talking about art and ego and like the process of creation. And also, it's about a rat puppeteering a skinny French boy. So
What's better than that?
Yeah, like I feel like it's one of Pixar's most creative ideas, and one of the like sort of, not that a more mature film makes it better necessarily, but I do think it's one of their more mature ideas for a film, that the way that Brown Bird directed it, the way it's just done really well.
It's also like got tons of good animated food.
Yes.
You get bonus points for that. Like, that is a bonus.
There's a scene at the beginning where he's like, before even you get into the cooking part, it's just like he's holding the strawberry and the cheese, and I'm like, I want to eat that strawberry and cheese.
I want to go to there. Yeah.
I
Ratatouille's
don't
great.
really know if there's another Pixar movie that has a lot of good food.
Not as much.
Parts. Yeah.
Yeah.
The only thing about Ratatouille I'll say is I do like it, but I think it came out in 07.
07, yeah.
Yeah, that's like the 06, 07 range was like when I was like, oh, I'm like an actual teenager now. Like, do I like kids stuff anymore? And Ratatouille was like, I went to the theater to see it, and I just didn't immediately click. And it was like the first Pixar movie I saw, and I was like, yeah.
You thought you were too cool for school.
Well, I also thought about that with another movie that we'll probably talk about, but yeah, I probably need to revisit it with Grace and see if she likes it too. But
Yeah. I've revisited it a few times, and I'm like, she's a keeper. I like her.
I find something new to appreciate about it every time.
It's a rewatchable one.
Yes.
All right, Sam.
okay, so my pick has got to be Toy Story, the first one.
First one.
Yes. So I was 3 years old when it came out, and I remember us having the VHS. Obviously, it's groundbreaking. It's like the first computer-generated movie. It's actually a good story, good characters. Obviously, you know what the story is. It's a toy story, but yeah, I think the elements of it, like going to Pizza Planet, dealing with funny claw aliens, the whole Sid character, the second part. Yeah, it's like a good villain, and it's like a good representation of like different types of ways kids play with toys.
Yeah, that's true.
And I think especially when you're a kid and you see a movie about toys being lifelike. It's crazy they haven't thought about something like that until 1995, but I think that was near the peak of when toys manufacturing became
like merchandise.
Yeah, I feel like the 90s, the 80s, 90s, and early 2000s, everything became merchandisable. It's just a classic. I mean, there's not much to say about it, really. I think it's pretty perfect.
Yeah, I was gonna say, even though I disagree that it's the best Toy Story, but I do like it is iconic. Like the amount of times I've said double prizes, or whatever. It's just like, yeah,
it's quotable to an extent that like I will be quoting it and not realize that I'm quoting it anymore. Yeah. It goes beyond
to infinity and beyond. I'm sorry, it was right there.
The other two quick things I'll say is I think it obviously revolutionized animation, whether you like the movie or not. And then I think also with it being the first Pixar movie, it also, because it's a good movie, it's not just, they figured out the technology aspect of it. It's like there's real creative art going into these types of movies, and I think it made the studio have more faith to make these types of stories going forward. And now it's been 30 years and they're still making Toy Story movies, which we'll talk about.
Oh boy.
All right, Jordan, your turn.
I'm gonna pick a really off the wall one, and I have to say I think I have a little bit of recency bias in this. Please don't drag me for this. This is my opinion. That's my opinion. I saw this movie last night for the first time. And I cried I counted 5 distinctly different moments. I started sobbing. And I just didn't realize that this movie was it's Soul.
I didn't know this was your first pick, but that's
well,
awesome.
It's not. It was Toy Story, but you took my first pick. But truly, if you have not seen Soul, go fucking watch it. Like, it is so good. I was telling Sam, I was like, the greatest things about Pixar movies are like just you go into a Pixar movie for the heart and for like this like gut-wrenching sad moment that has a little bit of lightheartedness to it still and like fun. The whole thing with Soul is that it has a way of doing that at a very deep level that kind of feels a little bit existential. Very existential. There's also the other thing about Pixar we were talking about earlier is that they're really good at setting up world building and lore and like systems and stuff. And it should be, if it's done well, easy to understand. And if I sat here on this podcast and tried to explain Soul to somebody who has not seen it, I would sound insane. But in 100 minutes, I'm locked in. I'm loaded. I'm like, yep, this is good. I get it. They're dead and they're going into this other world, and then this person can go back down to Earth, and then they go inside a cat. Like, I sound insane if you haven't seen this movie, but it is so good to a level that I wasn't expecting. I literally walked into it thinking, oh, it's a jazz movie, and I walked out like, I have a zest for life again, and life is good. Like, it takes a lot for a movie to just be life affirming like that. And I just have a really big soft spot for life-affirming movies in general. And I just think the Jamie Foxx was great in it. Tina Fey was great in it.
Yeah, great music. I liked how it was edited. Like, there's a lot of parts where they're just like throwing these terms out that only make sense in the moment, but then the way they progress the story, the viewer is able to decipher it better. And it's not that you need to know the exact terms of what exactly is happening. It's like they visually meld what they're trying to do pretty well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I totally agree with all the existential aspects of that movie. Oh my god, I love it so much. It was also in my top 5. I can't obviously use it now, but from a visual standpoint, I really do. I feel like Pixar has tended to do like either very photorealistic, we're trying to go for the most realistic animation possible. You can see all the plastic shine on Woody's face or whatever, or more stylized stuff like Luca or whatever, where it's kind of more cartoony. And I like the way that Soul melds both those together, where it's like, it's the photorealistic humans in the real world, and then you get to the Soul world, and there's the Jerrys and all the 2D animation. It's so beautifully done. I love that.
Yeah, a lot of the earlier Pixar films, when they try to animate humans, even Toy Story, it's kind of like, even The Incredibles, I know they're supposed to be shaped specifically, but like, with Soul, I feel like it was maybe the first and only time they nailed how humans should look in an animated way. I don't know if that makes sense.
No, it does.
I
Yeah.
feel like they could totally just do total photorealistic humans if they want to do this play. It's the stylization that makes it enjoyable.
Cherry on top for sure. Like I said, I think there might be a little bit of recency bias because I just saw it, but if a movie can make you cry 5 times in one sitting in 100 minutes, like that kind of says something. I was doing other things while I watched it. Like I was dyeing my eyebrows. I was like busy, like, and I was sobbing. Like it made me put down my phone.
Oh, yeah, we watched Deluxe tonight because I think that much one to watch. I mean,
So good. So good.
I feel
Please
bad
watch
because
it.
they dumped it on Disney Plus, like
Who's
Christmas
Disney?
2020.
Oh god, yeah.
I think they did re-release it in theaters, but
It deserved so much better.
yeah.
But honestly, like for a movie to come out at a time as like Christmas 2020, when like a lot of the world was feeling alone, like if you were a person who was able to watch it during that time,
Yeah,
like,
I thought it was the perfect time.
perfect timing. I'm sad I didn't experience it then, but it came to me at the right time. So,
All right, April, your next pick.
My next one is going to be Wall-E.
Oh, that was...
Yeah, if we're talking ones that make you cry.
Yeah.
It's oh my god, it's such a good. First and foremost, it's a love story, and then second, it's also like a critique of corporations and capitalism and everything. And like, I love it so much; it makes me cry every time. I love Wall-E. I probably, if there was a movie that I had the most toys of as a kid, it was probably Wall-E. But like, I had like the remote control Wall-E, and I still love him so much. It just it like. In another unique thing, talking with another, sorry, again, less from a story standpoint, more from a visual, is the way that they literally use live action footage in the movie, and the way they're like, yeah, now humans look all cartoony and blobby and whatever. Like, that's just what they should look like in a photorealistic environment. They have devolved from like what like the like live action see every day to this, and it doesn't totally hold up, but I think the effect is really well done. And they haven't really tried it again since then. And I mean, if you look at Wall-E himself, he looks like a photorealistic, like just could be inserted into a live action environment. And I love that.
I remember watching this with you in your den at your parents' house, and I remember being like, "I'm Eva, you're Wall-E." Like you just immediately grasp onto the love story, and it's very dialogue light.
Oh yeah, the first 30 plus minutes is basically a silent movie with him and the cockroach and Eva.
And you like the cockroach.
Yeah.
Like, it takes a lot for me to like a bug.
My greatest fear is cockroaches.
Literally.
I can't.
Except for him.
Except for him.
He gets spared. But yeah, no, like Wall-E is, I really need to rewatch it, but I feel like to your point that you made about just like, it's very like anti-capitalist and things like that. Like, I remember thinking while I was watching it, like, wait, do I want to live in a future like this? And like, Wall-E radicalized me. Like, I'm not saying that, but it's kinda.
It's on climate change, kind of.
And hyperconsumerism.
I believe the director like later went on and was like, "We weren't making a movie about capitalism." Like, shut up! You work for Disney. Of course you were.
Yeah.
Like you're not supposed to say that, but you were. Like, look at it. B&L, but your very best friend or whatever. Like, they say that to the kids. They're like indoctrinating them for the movie. It's like, come on.
That's a great choice.
And it's also the only Pixar movie in the Criterion Collection.
Yes.
Which I'm not exactly sure the story behind that as to why.
I saw the steal. I really wanted the steal. But I just think it's very profound, and I love the opening shot when it's open into space, and then the Hello Dolly song starts playing, and I'm just like, I need to focus my whole attention here for the next hour.
I love that. Great pick.
Okay, my next pick is going to be Toy Story 3. Toy Story 3 came out in 2010 when I was a senior in high school. And
Toy Story 1, you were how old?
3. I mean, it's probably 4 or 5 when I actually saw it, but yeah, Toy Story 3, 18 years old. Besides probably The Dark Knight during that time, this is probably the most hyped movie for people my age. We went with a whole bunch of friends. This is before me and you. And yeah, that was 14 years ago now. That was the last time I cried in a movie theater. Was the ending of Toy Story 3. When they're all hand in hand going into the fire. And then it has like the perfect ending of him giving his toys to a different girl because he's going to college, which I was going to college. So it kind of all like emotionally hit with me at a perfect time. And then maybe you're really pissed off, and they're like, "We're gonna make a fourth and a fifth one," and I still haven't seen the fourth one, and I'm never gonna see it.
Good.
I'm personally boycotting the Toy Story 4 and Toy Story 5.
It's not canon for you.
No.
Good.
Yeah, I really like that they go. I don't have to talk too much about it, but they go to the daycare and they have to deal with the lots of Hug and Bear and his crew, and I like how Buzz has like the Spanish mode at one point, and they redo the "You Got a Friend in Me" in Spanish at the end, which was like probably my most played song that summer, or one of my most played songs. Yeah, I think it was like one of, if not the best way to end a 3-movie arc in any movies, because so many third movies are bad or don't tell the story right. And I felt like it was different enough, but also stayed true to the first two. And I felt like it was a perfect ending to the trilogy. So that's my next pick.
It's a great choice. I also think it's like important to note just like the timeline of like movie 1 and movie 3. It's like, it's a very personal choice for you, but at the same time, it's like kind of hit for a lot of people that say, and they did that intentionally.
Yeah, it's the first. I guess I meant Cars 3, but it was the first one they did a third sequel.
Yeah.
So it was, they made it out to be a big thing, and it was a big thing, and I think people my age in their early 30s really gravitated towards it more so than other people. I don't know.
Yeah.
That's just my story.
I was friends with you when the movie came out, and I think I was friends with you on the Facebook or something. I just remember you posted your foot. You wrote Andy.
Oh yeah, I wrote Andy on my foot. Yeah, let's not look for that. No, we saw it in the afternoon, and we all went to Walmart before the movie to buy Toy Story 3 clothes, but they didn't make any for adults or teenagers, so I had to buy like a large kids Buzz Lightyear shirt. So yeah,
You're wearing a little teeny tiny shirt.
but it was tight. It was long enough, but it was tight.
Buzz Lightyear crop top.
Yeah. Should have kept that. I'd wear it.
All right, Jordan, what's your second selection?
All right. My second selection is Inside Out. And I really want to rewatch this one soon. Obviously, we already talked about Inside Out 2 is out in theaters right now. I'm going to need to rewatch it before I go see Inside Out 2, but I think it's really important to make films that talk about mental health. And I think this is a great example of like talking about those types of things to a young audience in a way that they can understand it. And in a very like healthy way. I've actually watched a lot of YouTube videos about like therapists talking about Inside Out and how it's like a great introduction for young people to like understanding and having like emotional literacy and like not like pushing down your feelings and like being okay with your feelings and like identifying what those feelings are called and not being like that's a bad feeling, like it's a normal feeling. And I think when Grace gets to be older, it's a movie that's like very enjoyable.
Probably.
Yeah, and like I don't remember exactly the dialogue, but there is a very specific moment in the movie where I don't remember exactly what she says, but there's a point where she just says something to the effect of like, I'm not okay. And like, I'm like getting choked up thinking about it, but like, that's important for people to like have those types of discussions, especially with like their parents when they're young and to feel safe to do those types of things. Like your parents should make you feel comfortable to be able to be like, no, I'm not okay right now. And your parents shouldn't be like, stop your crying. Quit you're doing that. Like, it's so like, I feel like it taught me a lot, even when I saw it, like about just how to parent a child with big emotions. Because I have a child with big emotions. She's a 3-year-old, so it's important to know. And I think revisiting it now as a parent is also going to be really helpful. Can't say I won't cry, because I will, because I'm a movie crier.
I cry multiple times. I cry at Bing Bong, and I cry when she runs away, and I cry when she comes back home. It's just like, oh my god.
Also, Kyle MacLachlan voices the dad, and Kyle MacLachlan is my number one hunk. So
Didn't the dad get rated as like the number one hottest
Yes.
animated movie dad?
yes, yes, he is.
Not that I have anything to say about that.
I have something else to say about another hot Pixar character, but I'm gonna wait till it comes up
Oh,
because we
boy.
talked about it this week. I won't bring it up.
Girl, that's good.
How you know it's gonna be?
I don't. I'm curious.
I think you're gonna crack up.
Oh, God.
I'm just kidding.
Okay, April, next pick.
Okay, my next pick. Well, now we have the little trilogy out of the way. It's gonna be Toy Story 2.
Nice. I love Toy Story 2.
So those are one of the top 7 picks.
I unfortunately have seen Toy Story 4. I don't like it. I agree it should not be canon, but I do agree like the emotional beats of Toy Story 3 are really well done. I mean, obviously that hit harder because you were graduating at that point. You know, I was like 5 years old, which is weird to think about. But Toy Story 2, I like if I meet someone and like, hey, what's the best Toy Story movie? And they're like, oh, Toy Story 2. I'm like, yeah, okay, we're gonna be friends. It is like it in a similar vein of the first one. It's got so many iconic moments, but it also I feel like the first Toy Story doesn't really have that emotional thing like that the part that's gonna make you cry like most Pixar movies. Like it's a fun romp, but it's like it doesn't really hit you and make you want to go hug someone. Toy Story 2 does that with the whole when she loved me scene. Oh my god. I brought a Jessie doll with me to college because I felt so bad.
I cried in like 1997 when the Toy Story 2 movie came. I remember watching it and crying at that part.
That I feel like that was almost like the groundwork for all the times that Pixar was going to try and make us emotionally distant.
Yeah, Pixar's really good at making like a short montage of just like very sad stuff. Like, I mean, we'll get to a few more, but
It's about to say.
yeah, I feel like because it went Toy Story, Bug's Life, then Toy Story 2. So yeah, I think that Jessie car is probably the first sad montage that they did.
They were like, perfect. They loved it. Let's do more.
They perfected it time and time again. I feel like.
And on the comedy note, I mean, you have like them going to the toy store. You have, I mean, the world building too. There is really good with the whole aisle of Buzz Lightyears, the Emperor Zurg, of course, and the Chicken Man was just lives rent free in my head. But
Plus of I forget his name, but minor guy.
Stinky Pete.
Stinky Pete. That's
you really
right.
are
I don't
Stinky
like
Pete,
him.
aren't you?
He was a good villain.
Yeah.
So I like Toy Story 2. It's a good movie. It is my least favorite of the 3, but it's really just because when I was growing up, I really didn't like Stinky Pete. I just thought, I was like, every time he came on the screen, I was like, he's up to no good. And
He's your Umbridge.
he just gave me, yeah, he's like, him and Umbridge are probably tied, yeah. But it was just like, every time he came on the screen, I was like, I got anxiety.
You're like,
and I was a little
this
kid, and I
guy.
didn't know what anxiety was. So I was like, I don't like him. And then that one scene where the Chicken Man is asleep on the couch with the Cheeto dust and they're trying to walk across and not hit the Cheetos, that also gave me anxiety.
A Quiet Place. I love the scene at the start where Rex is playing on the Super Nintendo or whatever, and he can't reach the buttons.
Oh man, I gotta revisit like all of these. Oh man. All right, Sam.
My next pick. There's a lot of good options here. I'm gonna pick Monsters Inc.
Great choice.
It was really between that and another one, and I think you might pick the other one, but I didn't spell monsters. Yeah, so Monsters Inc. It's really good. I like the monsters. I like the creature design. I like 2319. I like that. I think, with Woody and Buzz, Tom Hanks and Tim Allen, I think Sully and Mike Wazowski, Billy Crystal and John Goodman, those are like the top voice acting performances in all of Pixar to me, and the way they work together elevates both films. And I just like every creative thing they did in Monsters Inc. pretty much. Like, I'm not saying it's a 5-star perfect movie, but I think it's like, because it's easy to be like, oh, Finding Nemo is about fish, or oh, Toy Story is about toys, but Monsters Inc. is like, they had to create all these types of monsters, so like their creativity is probably higher than something like Toy Story or Finding Nemo. And then they have the great animated Doors opening sequence with the jazz music I really like.
The score
The
is
score is
incredible.
great. I really like how Randall and Mr. Waternoose, or whatever his name is,
Yeah.
they're like pretty good villains. But then you also have the old lady, I forgot her name.
Roz.
Yeah, she's really funny.
I
also like
watching you.
Yes.
I like how Mike Wazowski's dating the receptionist snakehead lady.
Takes her to Harryhausen.
Yeah, she
and they
just
all
has
go,
all the
Harryhausen.
snakes. It's so funny.
I just love that.
Just like everything that they do. Like, obviously they're trying to make kids scream and be scared, but then they have to make them laugh. And I think it pokes fun at corporations and capitalism also, which I like.
I had this on VHS. It was one of the last like VHS releases. And it was a clear clamshell with the paper insert, but the actual like VHS was green, like a bright green.
Yeah.
And I remember this was like an age for me where I was like still kind of scared of the dark, but like watching the movie actually like helped me heal that part of myself. And like a little bit of backstory. So my mom had just gotten remarried, and up until that age, I was still sleeping with my mom in my mom's bed because I was too scared of the dark still. And so I was having to sleep on my own for the first time. In this new house, I changed to a different school, and so it was like everything was different, and I'm too old to be scared of the dark, and I'm sleeping in my bed for the first time. But I have Monsters Inc., which is my headcanon for me to be able to sleep in my own bed, and like
Yeah, I think it
very
helps
comforting.
for kids with that.
Very comforting.
You just see it in a movie and you're like, okay, that's reality. Like, you just take it and you're like, yep, okay, that's what I'm going to believe now.
There's some like good emotional beats in that movie too.
I think I forget about it, but yeah, I will always cry at the very end when he opens the door and she's like, Kitty, oh my god.
Oh, and then shout out to when they go to the snow place with the Yeti guy.
That's right.
They're like banished.
That's right.
And I remember that was the first time I ever heard that word banished, and I always associate that with Monsters Inc., which is funny. And then, that where they rebuilt the door, and there's that one little last piece that he puts in with his little claw finger at the end, and it connects, and then he can see blue. That's how it ends.
That's your first conceptualization of like satisfying ASMR. Is that piece going in?
Or OCD type video.
Yeah.
Oddly satisfying.
Yeah. And visually, like the people cutting the sand.
Come with me and rebuild this chipped door.
Also, when they send Randall to the swamp, and the lady's like, another gator got in the house, or whatever they say. I love that part.
Oh, God.
One last thing, and then I swear we will move on. One of my favorite things is like just the slight little pieces that build the world of Monsters Inc. And so like specifically the locker room, Mike Wazowski is like spraying on his deodorant, and he's like, "Oh, what dog?" Because they all smell bad, and like
I love that.
I love that.
All right, I kind of set you up, Jordan, for this next pick. I hope you picked it, or I might steal it extra out.
I'm pretty sure I'm gonna pick the right one. Hopefully I don't fail you, but I'm picking Up. Okay,
Good.
when we're talking emotional movies made by Pixar, it's Up. It's Up.
What's that?
I was just thinking of that. Is it Cardi B? When it's up, then it's up, then it's up,
Yeah,
then it's
that's
up.
right,
Like she's actually talking about this movie.
She should be.
She should be, yeah.
Scarring emotional montages at the beginning.
Scarring emotional montages of, I was far too young to be like thinking about like a future and like all of that kind of stuff. But in that moment, I was like, what if my spouse dies and I don't get to have kids with them? And like, I'm so sad about it that I become a crotchety old person. Like I started thinking about all those things way too young. But I also think like, this is a great example of like, starts out sad and goes up from there.
They go up.
They go up, all
They
right.
don't go down. Oh, there's parts they go down.
Yeah.
I suppose.
That's another one I need to rewatch. I mean, I keep saying that about all of them, but like, yeah, I think Up just has that like emotional impact on you in the first part of the movie, but it does it in such a way that you want to keep watching. You're like, I'm ready to be hurt. Like, I can, like, it's not like so emotionally terrible in the first part that you're like, I don't want to watch this, like, turn this shit off. Cause like some movies are just like drama porn where it's like hurt your feelings and you're like, turn this off, I don't want to do this. But like Up is kind of like, it kind of holds your hand into the like actual main part of the story a little bit. Cause it was important for you to understand that. So you'd understand about like his backstory. And, I mean, I love the dog. Yeah.
Kevin the Bird.
I love Kevin the Bird. I love Kevin. Up is great, but it's like, when are you ever wanting to just like bawl your eyes out?
Oh, Paradise Falls.
Yeah.
When they go. Yeah.
If you cut off the first 10 minutes of Up, like there's a Wikipedia page for just the first 10 minutes of Up. Like you could cut that off and it would just be the most depressing short film in the world. But like the fact that it keeps you invested, like I really want this guy's life to get better.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's really sweet. I really love the ending, and I really love the little tidbits that you hear from Russell.
Right.
I should know
I think
that.
there's a part at the very end where he's like goes up either his aunt and uncle or it's his parents.
I think he's out the Luminous Explorers like badge thing, and then Carl is there and he gives him a little grape soda badge.
This is a cinematic talking point, but just the idea of a character isolating themselves, staying in the same place, which is him in his house, but then having this idea of, I'm going to just put 1,000,000 balloons on my house, stay where I am, and I'm out of here. And it's kind of like playing both sides of the coin where, you're not wanting to do anything or change, but you want to do something else. It's like a good take on that, I feel like.
How can I change without doing anything different? How
Yeah,
can I travel without leaving my house?
Is I just remember like the contractor people were trying to take his house so they could build a building or something. And he's like, I'm just going to fly away on balloons in the White House. All right, April.
Okay, I'm going to go with The Incredibles.
Nice.
I see a lot of people talk about this, like, oh, it's the best Pixar movie. And like I kind of mentioned before, like the Brad Bird directed Pixar movies, like Ratatouille and The Incredibles. And I think Incredibles 2 was also directed by him, but it's not as good. Like they're a little bit more mature. I mean, The Incredibles is talking about like genocide of superheroes or whatever, and when everyone's super, no one will be or whatever. And I mean, it's also very quotable in that regard, but it does have a little bit more mature like themes to it. I don't think that automatically makes it the best Pixar movie, though. I do think that Ratatouille and WALL-E are better, but it is definitely one of the best, I think. It's just the way that it handles everything, the way that you can get invested in the family dynamic, and Bob and Helen's relationship throughout the whole thing. That scene where they're arguing and the kids are hiding behind like the couch, and like that, the tension there will always get me.
It's like realism.
Yeah.
Yeah, they do that little like Office Space part at the beginning where he's like silently driving his car and working his data test on his way too big. So yeah, physical comedy.
I love I hate the boss at the beginning with the little, all the cogs mesh together or whatever, like doing all that crap. Like, I'm like, yes, please punch him and throw him through the wall, even though I should not be rooting for him to do that. But yeah, this is a really good movie. It doesn't really have that it's gonna make you cry part, I would say. It's more action-y, and I'm not usually a fan of like action-based stuff, but it's really good.
I just like the part where
where's my super suit?
You read my mind. Honey, where is my super suit? Yeah.
It's weird because y'all say that, but whenever I think of like what's the most iconic line from this movie, I think of the "you sly dog, you got me" monologue in or whatever. The syndrome, like he's explaining his evil plan and whatever, and he's like, "Wait, you say I love that part so much." But yeah, I forgot about this. Super suit.
That's probably the one that I hear the most, I think.
Yeah, I like that the end where they fight the mole man guy. And I actually think, what's his head again? The main villain?
Syndrome.
Yeah. I just think he's fine. Like, I know a lot of people, like you said, think he's the best villain in Pixar, and it's the best Pixar movie. And I just feel like it came right at the beginning of all the superhero
Marvel
stuff. Like, Marvel, Dark Knight, and The Incredibles. So I just feel like,
yeah,
like if you compare The Incredibles to say another animated superhero movie like Spider-Man that just came out, like it's not a contest.
Well,
like that. So I don't know.
But this is a Pixar draft.
Yes.
So they're competing with other Pixar movies.
Yes.
I would
That's another episode. Duking out all the animated superhero movies. Go ahead, Sam.
Are there more?
There's probably just.
Wait, you're talking about oh, I'm so sorry. I thought you were talking about Spider-Man 2002, Tobey Maguire. I
was
like,
I'm talking about the...
Okay, I'm sorry to go off on this tangent.
Into the Spider-Verse.
Yeah, okay, that one, yeah.
Sorry, yeah.
Much better, yeah.
Miles Morales.
100%. Those fun.
We concede.
Like I'm saying, if The Incredibles came out the same year as that, they wouldn't be as considered.
Yeah.
That was all I was saying. But okay, my next pick. Again, I'm torn between two options, but I'm gonna pick A Bug's Life.
Great choice.
And yeah, I think we watched, or at least maybe I watched it 1 or 2 years ago. Rewatched it.
Trey, who ordered the poo-poo platter?
Yeah, I like the little ant community and of the setup that they have to like gather all these seeds for the grasshoppers. Dennis Hopper is the villain. He's so good. I don't know. It's similar to movies like Finding Nemo and Monsters Inc., where it's like we have an idea and we're creating this universe, and I just like the little things they do, like the caterpillar guy turning into a butterfly at the end. Yep.
That's an infinitely quotable movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then I just like the plot, like configuration of how they like make that bird to like scare the grasshoppers and how that all happens.
I wanted to be Princess Ada when I was younger. I wanted to be her really bad. And then we also had, y'all might still have these, honestly, the tuck and roll.
No, but we do. I still have this old. It was like a Flint flick toy where it's like this big, and he can barely stand. He's got these little legs, but he's like this big old plastic flick with blinking eyes and the backpack.
Yeah. We had 2 tuck and rolls. The little pill bug, yeah, and they like talk to each other. Like they could communicate with each other, like a little like thing.
Yeah.
It was kind of buggy though, but not sorry, I didn't mean it like that. I just mean like it didn't always work.
Yeah. I remember when we went to Disney World way back when, and we did the Bug's Life thing, and you sat in the chair, and they like poke you with the bug stinger, and I wasn't expecting that. That freaked me out.
I've heard people say, because not to go on this tangent, but I like the alien encounter ride at Disney World was supposed to be like the scariest thing ever, but like the Bug's Life thing is still there, and people have said that's scarier, and I've never been on it, but I've heard people say that it's like the most horrifying thing you can do at Disney World.
I would actually agree. It's
like,
yeah,
like there's spiders that drop from the ceiling, and they spray you.
They spray you with like a stink bug scent.
Oh God, I would die.
Yeah. Oh, side note, April is also a Disney parks expert, but like, we love to see it. So
I don't like Disney the company, okay? But
just a parks expert.
All right, Jordan. You have this one, and then you'll have one more pick.
So a lot of my choices have been taken, but I'm gonna go for one we just rewatched the other day. It's Finding Nemo. I'm gonna start this off with an embarrassing story about Finding Nemo. So Finding Nemo, I saw in theaters in the year 2003. I was 10 years old. And I remember going to the movie theater with my parents. I don't remember which of my parents I went with, but I remember running into like one of the cool girls from school. I don't remember who it was at all. And I remember she was like, "Oh my gosh, what are you doing here?" And I didn't know what to say. So I said, "I came to find Nemo." And I've never been more mortified in my life because she was like, "Okay." Clearly, I was the actual cool one in this scenario. Cool, I think it was a very cool thing to say, but I remember feeling like, "Oh my God, I want to die right now" from saying that. But I said it so unironically too. I was like, I came to find Nemo. Like, duh, girl. Like, what are you doing here? Anyway, this is the other movie I have that has a hot character in it, and it's Willem Dafoe voicing that fish in the fish tank with the scar. And we're watching it, and I'm doing other stuff, and I just like stopped for a second, and I was like, that fish is hot, and y'all all know it. That fish is hot.
No, that's a good hear me out.
It's a good hear me out. Honestly, though, I think they talked about it on like a Watcher episode where it was like hot fictional characters, and they were like, that fish is hot. They talked about it on that episode. I'm not alone in this.
You are alone.
I stand on business when I say, well, first of all, I'm the only person who thinks Willem Dafoe is hot, which that's fine, more for me to love. But I love this movie also because there's like another emotional beat in the beginning that's very hard to get through. But once you get through it, you're like, I get it. And I get why this dad is so like overbearing, and I get it. But I also, It's a great movie, and especially like the Dory beats towards the end. Like, so I don't like Ellen, fuck Ellen, but like back then she was fine. Like, it was before she was a freak.
We didn't know.
We didn't know. And so anyway, back then I just remember the part at the end where she like talks about being alone, and I'm like, it's so sad. Like it was good. It was good. I really like Finding Nemo. It's lower on the list though. Like on my personal list, I think I ranked it like number 8. And so, I definitely think it's a great movie though, just because like P. Sherman 42 Wallaby Way, Sydney is like kind of imprinted on my memory. That's like literally
Just keeps
20 years ago. Yeah, he touched the butt. You guys made me ache.
It's another 2319. Like,
it's another,
you will, yeah.
Yeah, I like the little shrimp guy. Like to clean is really, and I like the pelican.
I love the starfish.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
Yeah, I like him too. And then that little bitch that was getting her teeth clean. And she
Yeah,
was,
when
like,
we were rewatching it the other day with Grace, and they're at the dentist office, and they're everyone in the fish tank, and they're like going into in-depth dentistry terminology describing what's about to happen, and it's really funny to me.
I love I'm a piranha. They're from the Amazon. I quote that all the time.
Also, the fish's name is Gil, if anybody was wondering.
The hot fish.
Mm-hmm.
It's real not hot. I'm sorry.
I mean,
Well, that's fine. You're not attracted to men.
I've had worse fictional crushes.
Yeah, exactly.
Worst ones.
Exactly. All right, April. This is
Okay.
your last official pick.
I'm debating. I had 2 marked down. I'm gonna go with Luca. I don't know if y'all have seen that one.
I've not seen it.
It was between that and Coco for me, because Coco is obviously very emotional. Luca though, I love it so much. I love the stylization of it. Like I mentioned, I feel like Pixar movies can just be like, look at the technical power we have. You can see every pore on this guy's face or whatever, and it's like, okay, that's cool, but I do enjoy a lot of stylization of the animation. I follow the director of this movie on Twitter, and like following all the people that work on it and just seeing how they have to like do tricks to the camera to make the characters look the way they do, with like the way they move and the way their mouths move. And I mean, from a story level, I know it's like people be like, oh, it's like Finding Nemo mixed with The Little Mermaid, but in Italy. And it's like, I know, but also it's really good. I just love seeing 2 fish boys learn about the world and ride on motorcycles, and it's also up for debate whether or not they're gay, but I'm not even gonna get into that.
Yeah, there's like a lot of in-depth
Like gay subtext.
Yeah.
pieces type things you can dive into with that movie. I don't remember a lot of the plot details except kind of what you said. I was kind of like Little Mermaid, where there's like the fish boys underwater near an Italian coast, so they just want to walk on land and see what payments are actually how to claim.
Interesting. I haven't seen it.
You haven't seen it?
I haven't seen it though.
That was another one of the pandemic Disney Plus ones.
Also, that's another one. Yeah, it's a shame it didn't go to theaters. It's also another one that it doesn't have a lot of it, but it has a really good animated food scene where there's pasta, and I'm just like, oh, yeah.
All right, Sam, your last official pick.
Okay. So my top 9 have been selected. So I don't really know what my way to be hurt. I'm gonna pick Coco. I've only seen it the one time, so I need to rewatch it. I like what they were trying to do. I'm not gonna talk too ill about it, but there's a reason to the last pick, not my first pick. But I like how they handle the Day of the Dead type stuff, and I think it's a mixture of a lot of like the Book of Life movie, and then Encanto a little bit, Hispanic heritage type movie, and like I said, going into the details of the Day of the Dead.
I do believe it's Pixar's. It might be not the only one, but it was their first musical movie. Like Disney's very well known for the musicals, and Pixar was like, no, we're more story emotions based. But the music I know is really, really good.
Yeah, same director who did Toy Story 3, Lee Unkrich.
And
And I like the dog sidekick as well, the Spony Town.
I actually just got confused and thought that Coco was Encanto. And Encanto, I've only seen Encanto. I haven't seen.
Oh my god!
I haven't seen Coco.
How
So
dare you
I'm
mix Mexican and Colombian heritage? Oh my god!
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to. I feel really dumb because I was like going to pick Coco and I've never even seen it.
You were gonna do that
Because I thought it was Encanto in my mind, and I was like, I love
well, I'm glad I
Encanto.
picked it and distinguished it.
So that I don't have an embarrassing moment, so we can cut this out of the podcast later.
Okay, what's your last pick?
I'm gonna go with Turning Red.
Nice.
I don't have beef with this movie. Let's just be real. Like, I think any people that have beef with this movie need to grow the fuck up. Like, it's a movie. Like, calm down. But like, let's be real here. It's not that good. It's not as good in comparison to the other Pixar movies. That's the beef I have with it, is that like it kind of loses the plot at one point. You know, like it could have followed a little bit more of the like allegory of like puberty and like the allegory of like your pubescent girl. But where it misses on those points, it really makes up for it in like really funny, quick-witted humor and like a lot of really good just like if you were a girl, you get it. Like if you're a girl, you just get it. Like the like being obsessed with a boy band, being like, I really want to go do this thing, but my parents won't let me. I think a lot of like teens in general could relate to a lot of what's going on in the movie, but like I do feel like there is an element of the intergenerational trauma of, am I going to do what my mom did to me, to you? And like, my mom recently saw it and was telling me that like, it just made her cry in such a way where the mom is talking to the daughter and she's like, if I taught you to care more about other people than yourself, I'm sorry. And my mom like looked at me and was like, if I did that to you, I'm sorry. And I was like, I haven't seen this movie, but thank you for telling me this. And like watching it, I was like kind of choking up because it was like, that's sweet. And like, I mean, I have a daughter, so like, I don't want to teach her that either. I also love the fact that it's like, you know, complicated mom relationship. And I do feel like Pixar soars in that regard, like complicated, parent relationships. The only thing I don't like, I do think is kind of like, they could have done a better job with is just fleshing out the dad character. He kind of just ends up being the bumbling dad, like the inept dad thing.
And at the end, he comes in and like there's this big emotional. It's like I didn't really get to know you for the first part, and it's like I liked that moment, but it's like
it could have been better.
You were really only in the background before.
Yeah, and there's also the 6 kittens in a box that just came out of nowhere, and I can't figure out how that happened.
That was weird.
It's just
they need a Cinderella. It wasn't a thing anymore.
But to be honest, the little like degenerate boy that worked at the gas station in the bucket hat, I would have loved him. I would have been crushing on him too. So for that, it goes as my last pick.
Her friends are pretty funny too.
Her friends are hilarious.
I would definitely, I would kind of like what you said. Like it's not one of the best Pixar movies. I'd say it's one of the better good ones.
All right, last part of the podcast, we're gonna do honorable mentions. We're gonna start with April. Do you have an honorable mention?
I do. Yeah, this would not have been on the list in any capacity ever. It's just I really like this movie and it's really shit. It's Lightyear.
Lesbian representation.
No, it's not even that. It's not that. It's just I already bashed Pixar for like, oh, it's just, oh, like I don't like it when the photorealism was like their whole thing, like, oh, that's the look at the technology that we have and we can do this. Like I prefer it when they have more substance to it. But I can't resist this movie. It does not have that same emotional substance or anything. It's just like this is a spaceman in 4K and his suit has all the little cool joints on it, whatever, and you see his team or whatever. It has so many problems, but like then I follow the director on Twitter and I just see him posting like, yeah, I built all these ships for the movie in Lego form, and then I handed off the Lego models to the designers and they 3D model. Like that's cool as hell. I don't care
really
how bad the
cool.
movie is.
That's really cool.
I'm a Lightyear stan. And I don't care. Like people walked into my room at college, my dorm, and I just have like a corner of my desk that was just like random Lightyear toys that my friends from high school gave me. And I'm just like, yeah, I don't care what you have to say about it.
What do we call that when you like something, but you know you shouldn't, but you still do, and you just can't help
guilty
it?
pleasure.
Guilty pleasure. Yeah, guilty pleasure. Yeah.
That's like, I watched it so many times.
I love that for you. All right, Sam.
Okay, mine's gonna be Cars.
I don't feel
Ka-chow!
Yeah, because life is a highway. And...
Life is a highway.
I'll give you Life is the Highway. That's on my playlist.
It's also Owen Wilson.
Yeah, I think when Cars first came out, it was unique and interesting, but it wasn't that good. And then they started to make the second and third one, and it just went downhill after that. But I at least like what they tried to do with like making a NASCAR adjacent competition with the Piston Cup, and then all the different types of cars.
Literally.
But none of the human elements with eyeballs of the talking. That makes no sense.
I think there's two things. This movie also makes a case for people that put the eyelashes on their cars, like in real life.
On the
you know?
headlight.
I guess that.
I really like the eyes are the windshield and not the headlights.
I agree.
But also, I saw someone say nothing about cars would be different if it was just humans in race cars. Like, all the other Pixar movies are like, oh, the toys are worried about being donated to daycare. That is like a very unique problem for a toy to have. Lightning McQueen is like, I'm worried about winning the Piston Cup. And it's like, if Owen Wilson was a live action human in a car, it would be no different, other than the fact that he like sticks his car tongue out at the beginning and wins the race.
Why does he have a tongue? The second thing I was going to mention is that no matter any time I just see like a little like dump truck, little rusty old car, I go, it's Mater! Like to this day, I still do that. So it has imprinted that aspect on me at the very least.
I thought it was worth a mention just because they did make 3 of them, and
should they have? I don't know, but it, yeah.
I still haven't seen the third one actually.
I've heard the third one's actually like pretty good.
Yeah.
Like okay.
Yeah. All right, and
last
then
one for you.
my last one, my honorable mention, Monsters University.
Oh
Oh my God!
we have a funny story.
We do. We saw it in theaters together. You and I did. And I like that all the stuff says MU. Like, it's just funny. And, like, it really, like, took the Monsters Inc. We already talked about Monsters Inc., but, like, it took more of that and took it further to, like, well, how do they get this job? And, like, I love that. Like, it's just cool.
I'm so glad that you mentioned this, because it was, like, one of my, like, if I'm going to do one honorable mention, which am I going to do? I love Monsters University so much. It is, like, a comfort movie for me. It's just, like, I love the message it's sending about, like, oh, well, sometimes you're not able to do this, but it's okay because there's other stuff that you can succeed at, even if it's hard to accept that sometimes. Like, I love Mike Wazowski, and I love how they focused on him in this movie instead of Sully, whereas the first one was more Sully based.
Yeah, that's true. What's the funny story?
Well, I just remember we went to the theater to see it. This was 2013, so we were 2 years dating, I guess. And it was packed with little kids, and it was a 3D movie. And when we sat down, I had my 3D glasses, and I turned around to either eat popcorn or something, and then the little girl next to me stole my 3D glasses. I wasn't going to be like, give me my glasses back. So I just sat there and watched it without the glasses.
And it's, like, almost unwatchable without. Like, if
it wasn't too bad. I mean, but I haven't seen it since, I don't think. But I do need to rewatch it.
Yeah, I enjoyed it.
I just remember there was to college, and it's a prequel.
MU.
Yeah.
All the gear and everything they wore just said MU. So, all right. Well, that was the podcast. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you.
Of course. Thank y'all for having me.
Yeah, of course. Anytime. And have fun. Watch some more Pixar movies, folks. They're good. They'll make you cry.
Don't watch Toy Story 4 though.
Don't watch that one. All right. Bye.